All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here with Colleen.
Hello.
And we are back with Molly McCord. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Robin. Hi, Colleen. Thanks for having me
Hello.
back. I love connecting with your audience and talking with both of you.
Same.
Yes.
Same. Well, we've had Molly on the podcast several times now. She always comes with a wealth of knowledge on astrology. And so definitely recommend you go back and listen to that. Some of them are about specific time periods, but then other ones, I think we talked about Chiron on here together. So helpful. So you can go back and listen to those other episodes. Also, we are personal fans of Molly and we watch her YouTube, we are newsletter and Instagram, all the things. So definitely go check her out on all of her different platforms that she's on because she just describes everything that you need to know. So it's funny, Molly,
Best
recently.
podcast on your walks.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
But I love
Yeah.
it. Seriously, it's like, oh, that's what this is about.
That's exactly. I was describing something. This was about a month ago and going through some stuff. And Colleen texted me one day. She's like, you have to listen to Molly's latest, like weekly. She's like, that's what's happening for you. Just go and listen. And it was like, exactly.
Astrology is so validating. Like, that's why I've loved it for so many decades, really. Because I'm like, this at least gives me something to understand that validates whatever, you're feeling or going through, especially during these big times that we're in.
Yeah, exactly. And things that were helpful, it was specifically around some communication aspects. And then I think it was in July and you're like, after the 15th, those communication aspects this is all going to change and it's all going to lighten up. And it did. And so it was like, okay, well, I can just kind of hold this for now and like sit in it for now and wait until that date. And then, and then move through it from there. And so it's just things like that are super, super helpful. So we so appreciate everything that you put out that helps us in our lives.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was so glad it helps because that's always the intention. And likewise, I mean, I love everything you guys are doing and offering and creating. It's helping so many people. And I just love listening to your conversations and all the cool people you interact with. So I'm a fangirl of
you. So just to let everybody know, you can go to mollymccord.online and then, her Instagram is MoxieMolly11, Astrology, YouTube, Molly McCord. But I think all of it's linked on your website and then also subscribe to her newsletter and you can get to all of her stuff from there. So fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we are here to talk today about some big aspects coming up this fall. So, I know you're kind of listening around the things that would be helpful to people and what to talk about on the episodes that we have together. And you wanted to talk about the upcoming eclipses, which occur on September 17th in Pisces and October 2nd in Libra. And so it's just so interesting, Molly, your intuition around these things, because Colleen's a Pisces with a Libra rise and Libra moon. I'm an Aries, but with a Pisces rise and Libra moon. And so,
wow.
Yeah, they're not hitting my degrees quite as exact as they hit Colleen's, but at the same
time, they hit mine exactly.
We're in Pisces and Libra. So intuition was right on.
Exact degree.
So just to let you know, these eclipses that we've been having throughout 2024, they are actually the same type of eclipses that we had back in 1959 and 1978. So of course, depending on how old people are, that would pertain to them or not. But it's fascinating to watch the patterns because these eclipses are activating places we've already been on our journeys. And now we have some new energies to be intentional with. And then both of the eclipses going on here have also activated previous points in your chart. So I'll be sure to mention that because that helps people understand what cycle is coming up, what they're revisiting, especially when an eclipse is happening for you on a personal planet or a personal point. And then also you identify it by house placement. So the first eclipse at 26 degrees of Pisces, you would identify which house you have 26 degrees of Pisces in your chart. And I do have a tutorial video on YouTube for those of you who need it. It's called How to Find a Degree Point in Your Chart. And wherever 26 degrees of Pisces is for you, we had eclipses here previously back in 2016, 1997, 1978, and 1959. So that can help you understand that this part of your life, the house that the eclipse is in, was the house that experienced that eclipse energy and dynamic. And it can help you understand some of the patterns or cycles that you'll be moving through now. So that's kind of the heads up. Again, the last eclipse
Molly, everybody then would have Pisces at 26 degrees somewhere in their chart. And so it's just about finding that. And that's what you're saying your course is. But I guess I didn't realize that everybody has a point then probably of every sign in your chart.
So all of us have the full 360-degree astrological wheel that's what our chart is made of, is that circle is every degree point. So everybody has that degree point, but not everybody has a planet or a point there. And by point, I mean rising, descendant, north node, south node. Those are some of the more better known points in astrology. But you would look in your chart, and let's say you have 26 degrees of Pisces in the 8th house, but you have nothing else in the 8th house. That is where the eclipse is working with you, is in the 8th house.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So everybody has
a really basic question, but I'm like, well, if I don't know that, then somebody else probably doesn't know that.
Well, exactly. And it's an important question. So I'm glad that you asked, and that will explain it to people, because that's how astrology becomes more individual. And if you have that eclipse in your 8th house, that's different than having it in your 1st house or in your 4th house. So it's good to note that. So yeah, that is a free video on YouTube where I show you how to find a degree point, and you'll see it instructed, so that you can look for it in your own chart. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So this eclipse is going to be September 17th or 18th, depending where you live. It's at 26 degrees of Pisces, and it's a lunar eclipse. And so this eclipse cycle begins with the lunar eclipse, which is a full moon. And so we will have the moon at 26 Pisces and the sun then at 26 Virgo. And every full moon is about illuminations and revelations. And when it's a lunar eclipse, it's even bigger. And eclipses give us some big messages, something that we're meant to know or see. In Pisces, it's a feeling, intuitive downloads, perhaps really vivid dreams that are showing you something or giving you information to integrate and then understand in your physical world. Eclipses move us forward, and they are these timeline changes. People make bigger life decisions during eclipse periods. They have more revelations, especially with the lunar eclipse. Like, you're going to feel it through the Pisces energies, which is your intuition, your emotions, your spiritual growth. And there's going to be some things coming up that it's going to rise you out of the Virgo energies. So the sun in Virgo is practical, methodical, wants to focus on the specifics, wants it to make sense and be linear, understandable. Does this work? Does this not work? And the Pisces lunar eclipse is asking you to go above that process, especially if you're stuck in problem solving. You're trying to correct something, you want to make it better. You're looking at how to organize or improve something in your world. The Pisces lunar eclipse is going to give you the answers and understanding through your intuition that at first might not make sense. It might seem really crazy. How is this possible? I don't know how this would work. But with a focus on Pisces energies, you're not meant to rely on only your mental faculties or what is right in front of you, because the Virgo energy is like, show me the evidence, show me how this will be effective and come together. And there's something about, it's a bigger dream. It's a bigger feeling. It's a bigger sense of, I'm just going to see how this goes. And the moon in Pisces is conjunct Neptune, which is at 28 degrees of Pisces retrograde. And that brings in even more Pisces energies into this lunar eclipse. So it's basically like a super Pisces infused lunar eclipse. So there's going to be a lot here for us to trust.
So if you're crying that day, there might be an explanation for it.
It's a beautiful day to cry. And
Beautiful day. And I mean that in the best way possible. It's
Yep.
like the last Pisces I was just like waterworks, you know? Yeah.
Beautifully on time. And
Yes.
I love a good cry because it's so good for what it releases in us. And there is a lot of release energy here where you could have some things that you're feeling intensely that, sometimes our mind doesn't want us to feel it or go there. It's like, no, get this stuff done. Don't go into the feelings of it. Be aware of what matters right now. This is a big release day. And there could be things that you're reviewing, you're understanding. That's what I was moving through, or that was the spiritual lesson. That was the karmic understanding. I also feel, like you mentioned, Robin, if you feel emotions coming up and you do have a good cry or something comes through for you, just let it flow out. Don't try to overmanage it. Just let it be something that you're honoring, because this is going to be very collective energy and it might not make sense. I mean, you could even feel exhausted, really tired. You could think, why can I not be productive or get something done? There could be something that comes up that feels like I don't want to do anything today. I want to take the day off because I don't have the energy for it. When we have a lunar eclipse conjunct Neptune and Pisces, I feel like most of our energy is actually in other realms. Like we're going off into these other places I feel like it's like a recapture, more of our spiritual essence and our higher self messages. There could be things that you're feeling that you just want it to move through you and flow through you. And it can also be very creative and artistic and just, it's kind of a very, like you want to be non-committal with the Pisces energy, and you might want to be left alone. But then the sun in Virgo is like, okay, but you've got to get this done, or, you got to hit the deadline. So you could be feeling that back and forth with this lunar eclipse, is that, I don't want to have to handle this. I don't want to have to focus on this. I'd rather just be on a beach somewhere and disappear from it all.
It feels very daydreamy to me.
Yes.
How you were describing it, and being all the Pisces and all of it in my chart. For me, it immediately took me into those other dimensions and the daydream of it, and the kind of the infinite realms.
It's going to be important to go there, to feel like I need time in my own energy, in my own space, where there's no interference from others, to feel and receive what is coming through in those other realms, because they're going to have messages for you. And something else about this particular Pisces lunar eclipse is that it's foreshadowing the new dreams that we're moving towards in 2025, when the North Node moves into Pisces for the first time in 19 years. And so we're connecting with a part of ourselves that wants us to move forward in these new energies based on what have you spiritually healed, completed, and you've been in that trusting divine timing of it all. And now the universe is saying, connect to those frequencies and honor what you have healed. Honor what you've closed out with soul contracts, with lessons, with a big part of your healing journey. Honor what you've closed out so that you can be ready for the new energies that are going to move you forward with, it's like a better frequency match. So this is a preparatory eclipse that is going to show you what, you're letting go of and what is not part of where 2025 is going to take you.
It's on a Tuesday too. So Colleen, I was just thinking this might maybe be a good opportunity to do kind of that mouse view, eagle vision journey, because with the mouse view in Virgo, you have that small details. And like you said, there sometimes can be that like resonance mismatch. You've got this Virgo that's happening and the details and all of that. And then that Pisces, which is that larger vision around it, that high up purview.
And this dynamic of Pisces and Virgo, you can unconsciously be too hard on yourself. Like we can be too hard on ourselves. Like, have I done enough? Is it good enough? Should I keep working on this? Your energy can be tied to any outdated martyr complex or sacrifice, or I've got to keep putting my energy into this. I got to keep pouring into it. But this is an eclipse that I feel a lot of people are going to be done. Like you're going to be like, I'm done with that. Like I did all that. I did it my best. I gave it my all. I did what was appropriate or responsible. And you could just feel that you're clear and clean. And I think that's important for healers to acknowledge, because we can get stuck in our own endless healing cycles of like, well, let me heal this more. I know there's more work to do here. Let me see this layer. What can I do better? But I feel like there's going to be a beautiful sense of acceptance of like, I really don't have energy for this same thing over and over again. I feel like I'm really complete with something that you've been working on and closing out.
Reiki is so beneficial for that.
Yes.
To really assist in the ability to not have to, dissect it to the last detail. And what we see that it does is it really reveals our authentic personality, our authentic self, our authentic viewpoint. And it does move you forward. It does bring forward your gifts and your talents and your abilities and the new dreams and the new and the remembered cellular memory of the gifts and the skills and the abilities that you actually have.
Yes, beautiful. And this is an eclipse that I think a lot of light workers, healers, empaths are going to feel that they're ready for the new, they're ready for the next chapter, and the universe will make it evident to you where what you've done is good enough. Don't keep beating yourself up about what didn't happen or what you thought you didn't do well or weren't the best at. It's like, no, there's a peaceful, graceful energy here of just being like, it's kind of like hand on heart. Like, I'm really good with this. I feel it in my soul that I'm really at a good place with this. And it's that's where you get set free for the new energies in the next cycle as well. So I feel like we're going to also need to practice not only self-acceptance, but the self-compassion and self-forgiveness, where the self-forgiveness brings you into that frequency of, I'm good with how I handled this or what I went through. And I can let myself off the hook, and I can let this be just a chapter that I'm complete with.
Love that.
And moving into, like you were saying, that energy in 2025, you said with the North Node, right? That this is going to be a kind of a preview to that, or it's a good place to set yourself up for that?
It's going to show you what you don't need to take forward into 2025. And some people are going to feel that as probably some decisions they're wrestling with. Some things they're trying to figure out. And there could be a guilt pattern where you like, but I have to do this for them, or I need to stay there because of this. And this is the universe asking you to choose what is for your best and highest good without subverting your energy to other people's needs, where you sacrifice yourself for the good of others, which can be part of the healing paradigm or the sense of, oh, but I could do more. This is kind of like, just call it, like, just give yourself that, that freedom to move on. And some people could have, fears around that. They could have, again, not only the guilt, but a sense of, am I ready? Am I ready for this? And there's something in a grander cycle that's going to usher you forward and demonstrate that when you trust this for yourself, which is a hallmark word with Pisces, when you really trust the energy, you might be surprised at the relief you feel after making a hard decision. So have you guys felt that, Robin and Colleen, like where you feel relief because of a decision you make that maybe you were struggling with?
Absolutely. In fact, our whole month of July in the Distance Reiki Share, we talked about decision making and effective decision making. And the month before that was about listening, but mainly about how to listen to yourself. And I love what you said with this, Molly, too. And it, thinking back to 1997 actually is one of the dates you said was an eclipse, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that was the year I actually started in all of my studies and training.
I just got chills for you, Colleen. Wow.
Yeah, that was the year that I started in my training in shamanism with Jan Inglesmith. And one of the major components that I learned, or I know now that I didn't know then, and also then when I received Reiki in 2000, was I was such an overgiver.
Yeah.
And that's what you're describing, is that sense of, responsibility to be this overgiver. Because on the other hand, I also love giving.
Yes.
So the balance of it.
Yes.
And what I learned, again, what I know now that I didn't know then, was that I was also terrible at receiving.
Right.
And that was the big game changer for me, because I couldn't figure out the balance.
Right.
And spiritually, I was working with Kuan Yin, and she was teaching me at the time about receiving and how receiving is the divine feminine and the giving is the divine masculine. And if I'm only giving, I'm missing half of my creation life force.
Beautiful.
It's not gender based, so I'm, it's an archetypal, which is so Piscean.
Yeah.
Go into the archetypal, but it's so interesting for this to come up. And as you're saying the things that you're saying, I can feel that completion and a greater understanding of that place and the balance of the giving, the receiving, and that over responsibility to give too much.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. I feel that's very common, especially for a lot of us who, I'm going to say feminine, but also who want to heal, who want to offer and support. There's going to be something, and you mentioned a good point here, Colleen, there's going to be something that you're already feeling, because Neptune in Pisces is at the end of Pisces. So it's already been arising within us that we are letting go from a very deep experience that taught us a lot about how we use our emotional energy, our spiritual energy, our intuition. Like we're already feeling it. And I think that this Pisces lunar eclipse, September 17th and 18th, is going to be a really fascinating timeline change. And as I say that, I just got the image of Virgo also representing what you're ready to take out to the trash. Like you clear off, you clear out, and you're like, I don't have space for this. I don't need this. It doesn't serve a purpose. And you could feel like, I'm just taking all this out to the trash bin and it's done. It's over. And I'm ready to say goodbye. I'm ready for the completion.
Well, and I love that, because I also, in this moment, can't think of specific examples where I am overgiving.
Yes.
Except I'm sure there are. And I love the idea that I can just let it go. I don't have to figure it all out. I don't have to go back into the nuances of what needs to be healed and why did I become this overgiver and why was I unable to receive?
Yeah.
So that was a big, and of course with Reiki, we receive it as we give it. It's the nature of it, is the receiving.
Yeah, the beautiful synergy that's built into the energy exchange. Yes, and the body, right? So there is a very strong Reiki component to this lunar eclipse in Pisces because it is the energies, and then Virgo is the body. And I feel like there's going to be something that, we're going to just have that knowingness of what even our body needs next and what our body wants to receive and needs to receive. So it feels quite beautiful. There can be a harmony with the lunar eclipses, the full moon lunar eclipses, when we're dialed in to what the exchange is.
Yeah. Yeah, I can feel it. I love it. And I love that as you're just talking about it, the energies are there and I can connect in with them. And it's going to be so much easier to just allow it.
It's true.
Move out of the figuring out.
Isn't that something that we have to, I feel like I keep learning, allowing, like I keep learning it, like, okay, allow it to be, don't force it, don't overthink it, like let the universe do its magic. And that only happens in our allowing state. So I think there is an invitation here. We can feel more universal magic when we are in that feminine, receptive energy of allowing it to be or allowing it to move through or play out.
Well, I think it's perfect that you both said that because as Colleen's saying, I can feel it. She's also has Neptune in Pisces. So there is that aspect. And I'm thinking, I'm over here kind of in the opposite energy of like, okay, what's this going to be? And as you were talking, and so I'm just being fully like honest and transparent here, as you were talking, Molly, and like, okay, don't force it. I'm like, okay, well, what's this going to be? Do I have another layer to heal? And like all of those other aspect of this exact transit that you were talking about. And like going into the thinking aspect, going into probably the Virgo aspect of it. And like, oh, interesting. So maybe I can just let all of that go and like not try to figure it all out and just like sink into the energy of it and allow the universe to do its magic and Reiki to do its magic. Because like as Colleen's having this full Neptune Pisces, like, oh my gosh, look at this. I can feel it. I'm like, I'm in my brain.
Yeah. Well, and so what a cool dichotomy, because it's so us of like, well, we're used to being in our mind body connections. Like that's literally how we have to go about a day. And yet we're going to be gifted with something to practice here in an area of our lives where we don't have to figure it out. We don't have to be in the mental energies to our own exhaustion or detriment. Even though that's common. I mean, of course we do that. So we're going to really connect with more of our intuitive mastery and our trusting and allowing energies here. And see what transpires, right? See what magic shows up when we do that.
And
I'm going to make sure I come back and listen to this.
When you're in the other side of it.
I'm on the other end and the shoulds hit.
Molly, you said the other time was 2016, right?
Yeah, 2016 in September. This would have been a south node lunar eclipse, which would have been more emptying out, trusting, releasing of what has been. But this particular one here in 2024 is connected to the north node, which is growth and development and moving forward in that direction. And what we are, allowing to support us as we move forward. So this is actually a growing lunar eclipse. And then that growth will continue, as I said, in January when the north node fully moves into Pisces. So for those of you who are a little bit more advanced, you can have an eclipse in a sign. So we're having this one in Pisces, even though the North Node is still in Aries, because of how the energies work with the ecliptic. So it can be a little confusing because normally we would have this as an Aries eclipse, but it's not. We're getting a Pisces eclipse early. And so I feel like that's an important message from the universe, that we're connecting with these Pisces energies early, and then there's going to be even more of them, especially the first quarter of 2025.
Well, it's interesting because Colleen was talking about it starting in her in the 97 eclipse. In 2016 is when I actually fully left everything else that I was doing and started working with her full time.
Wow.
And that actually sits a bit on my like South Node, North Node, like past life, this life, future life themes. And so that's really interesting you brought that up.
Oh, I love that, Robin. I love how this is really, showing both of you where your life changes were, and where you were trusting a new start and moving into something, and you didn't know how it would turn out or how it would go or what would happen next. Those are also big themes with a Pisces lunar eclipse. You don't know, but the energy says it's time. It's time for this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really powerful points. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when I went to Japan the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
To Mount Karama.
Yeah.
And I came back with this incredible level of peace.
Oh,
Just like it was transformative level.
amazing.
I was very pregnant. Not quite in my level of peace.
Was that 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had just had my son in 2015. And so when I look back on 2016, I was in the wandering, like, what is my life now stage? Because I was a work at home or stay at home mom. I wasn't even working. And I just felt like everything I had relied on previously was gone, had disappeared. So when I look back at that particular energy, I was just like trusting how things were going to show up at the right time. But everything in my life was very, very much not in an Excel document. It was like, it was not organized. It was very different. So this can help people understand, what they were going through in 2016 and 1997, both September of those years when we had these last eclipses.
And what was the other one in the 70s?
1978.
That's what I thought you said.
September 1978.
I remember that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I was already married.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there you go. That's another trusting life change.
We will be what is commonly referred to, right, as what we see on social media, especially for those that, it's called eclipse season, right? And so in this one, though, there's only 2 eclipses. Sometimes there's 3, and then this one, there's 2. So the next one that comes up is in Libra.
Correct. And that one's October 2nd.
And it's a solar eclipse?
A solar eclipse, so a new moon. It's like a supercharged, powerful new life start at 10 degrees of Libra in your chart. So again, you would identify if you have any planets or points at around 10 degrees of Libra. You could give this a 7-degree orb. So 3 degrees to 17 degrees of Libra, you'd feel it more personally. And same with the last eclipse we talked about a 7-degree orb. And at 10 degrees of Libra, it's a new start in your life in Libra, but it's interesting because it's working with the South Node. And this particular solar eclipse is about looking at what you have been learning through Libra themes about relationships, communications, sharing, equilibrium, things that you need to discuss with others. And we're learning how to upgrade that energy in our lives. So we're learning how to be better partners. We're learning how to communicate more and have more worthwhile discussions, and, to state what is on your mind and what you're thinking, and then to receive it and hear it back and be in that objective Libra state of analyzing pros and cons. We're learning how to be clearer in what we need to say, and even to take time to think it through. So this particular new moon solar eclipse can recharge connections. When it's with the South Node, some people will have relationships that just are over because they can't up-level them. It's like people are on different pages. People are going in different directions. With the Libra energy, it is about who you interact with. And some people will think, oh, this means, relationships are going to end. It's like, well, they're going to end if they're not healthy, if they're not equal, if they're not satisfying, like if they're not good for you and what you've been learning about yourself in relationships. So people could be having a lot of understandings about relationship patterns. And this would have started, these eclipses in Libra started in 2023. So what have you discovered about your own relationship patterns and habits? What you look for in other people. Is it fair? Is it they're showing up and doing as much as you are? What is the give and take there? And what have you been learning about yourself and what is true for you and what's best for you, and then what's not? So there's been this invitation for us to be very honest with ourselves about, wow, maybe I'm not so good at saying what I need. Or maybe I'm in a friendship and I'm always reaching out, but they don't reach out, or they always want to meet up and I don't have time. So we're learning what has been out of balance and how to bring it back into balance. And this particular solar eclipse is a new moon that's going to give you a sense of, okay, I'm ready to do this better, do this differently. And, this can also pull in healthy connections, better things that can meet you in that space.
Interesting.
Yeah,
and this particular solar eclipse is conjunct, not only is it the sun and the moon conjunct in Libra, but it's conjunct Mercury. Mercury is how we think, how we speak, what we need to say or express. This can support sharing more of your thoughts, what you need, weighing the options, understanding things from both sides. The Libra energy wants justice and fairness, wants things to work for both parties. So there can be a sense of, well, let's look for the win-win here. And if we don't find the win-win right away, let's keep talking about it. Let's revisit it next week. Let's come back around and talk about it at dinner. Like, there's the need here to keep conversing and to allow yourself time to think through what you really want and what you really need.
Interesting. So you were saying too that, well, and just like hearing the two together, obviously we know like the eclipse season always has themes together.
Yeah.
But just listening to that too, what about that for 2025? Like how you were saying the Pisces eclipse has like this preview for 2025. Is there anything with this one that's also?
Yeah, this one is closing out.
Yeah.
Because in March, the two eclipses in March in 2025 are Virgo and Aries.
Mm.
And then we move into Pisces and Virgo eclipses next fall. So this is the last Libra eclipse we have for 9 years or so. So that's why there's something here that you're meant to start or begin, which is the case for every new moon solar eclipse, but it's based on what you've learned, what you've been doing differently, how you're ready to start something for yourself that's going to be better for your connections and relationships. Again, how to up level. With a Libra new moon, especially conjunct Mercury, important conversations come up, important decisions, and important communications. So our minds are going to be like sorting things out and figuring it out. You could feel like you need to make a choice point. You need to make a choice that brings you to trust and understand what you don't want to keep repeating. Like, okay, I used to do it that way, or I've had these kinds of connections that I'm done with. It's meant to move you forward, but it's like a self-verifying energy where you know your journey, you know what that lesson or pattern habit you've been learning is. So there's an upgrade here of how to do it differently.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then you said it had that south node in play too, which would make sense.
I mean, some people could be realizing, this isn't working for me, or this connection, this relationship, this marriage, it's not good for me anymore. It's not who I am. And if we can't solve it, if we can't talk it through, if I'm dealing with somebody who doesn't communicate or show up or do the equal, like, you might have a big life decision to make. Now, that can also be something good for you. That could be like the absolute right choice for where you're meant to go next. You can feel like you're stepping outside of a comfort zone with this energy. But it's interesting because part of it too is like, there could be a rising up of what you've been holding back, where if you've been really frustrated with something, that could come forward. And that's because this new moon is squaring Mars in Cancer at 15 degrees. And that Mars will hold back, and almost like it can be a passive aggressive Mars where it can hold back things, but never forget. And it's like, oh, I remembered what you did in 2003, and that's why I'm upset. So there can be the lower expression of that energy in this chart, where if you haven't fully expressed what you need or what you're feeling, or if there's any lingering cellular memories of something that you didn't think was fair, that can also come out with this Libra solar eclipse too.
I'm just clicking it off as you're speaking. I have Libra at 11 degrees, my Libra moon.
Oh,
11 degrees.
Yeah. Oh, wow. This is a big one.
Yeah, in the 12th house. So both of these are hitting me very strongly. And it's so interesting. My 49th anniversary is this coming up this weekend, and August 3rd. And my husband just retired. And
Wow.
So we are in a whole new level of relationship and
Totally.
choice around relationship, and actively being able to observe it. And we just had a discussion yesterday that was so exactly what you're talking about, where I got frustrated and realized it was an old tape. It came back from old engagement styles that we had that were in that hidden part.
Yeah.
Popped right out. And fortunately, we're able to talk through it and get to the resolution of it, and the understanding, and also allowing the comfort to go through that process of communication.
Totally.
And the choice. I think that's the big piece. I was reading something not too long ago, and having been married for so long. And, I was 18 when we got married. We were together in high school.
Wow.
And of course, back in those days, you get married, you don't live, it was before people lived together, I mean, some did, but it was a little outside the box. And so that choice point has always been something that I've been aware of in choosing. And of course, it's helpful that he chooses too.
Yes, absolutely.
There's the other piece of it. But really aware of that part of choice.
Yeah. And you made a good
receive this.
And one of the points you made that was so excellent, Colleen, was how, this could be bringing something vulnerable, frustrating, like the discomfort is here in this Libra solar eclipse. There's a level of emotional discomfort, but who am I safe to talk about it with and to share what I honestly feel, even if it's a bit messy. And then you're you're with a partner who also wants to resolve it, who wants it to work for both of you, who wants to move it forward. So that is a strong energy signature here of it might require us to be more vulnerable and to be a little bit raw in a uncomfortable way, but the right individuals will be happy to either provide safety or honor that experience, whatever's coming up. Because of course we all feel that at times, like we all have stuff that, can be agitated, annoyed, messy, all that. And this could be an eclipse that brings you to resolving it in a new way, in a higher way. And especially if both people are conscious of it, you move forward together. And congratulations on 49 years of marriage.
Thank you. I know. It's so weird. It's so weird to think I'm married 49 years. Long time.
Yeah.
But it is. It does feel like the possibility of new ways and opportunities. And for me to also, going back to the Pisces eclipse, to also allow some of the letting go, even as I'm analyzing it, even as I'm observing it. I think the word you used was witnessing it. I could put you into that witness stage and discernment where you can actually be conscious that you're making a choice.
Exactly. Yes. And with the Libra solar eclipse, there could be some insightful revelations that we have about ourselves through a mirror, because Libra is the mirror, and it's even projecting. And so we could say, oh, wow, I was really projecting this onto someone, or they were projecting this onto me. So relational dynamics are very big here, but it could be the thing that kind of you don't want to look at or don't want to face, but that's exactly what's needed for the improvement to happen. And so there is, with this particular eclipse, there is a background of a lot of planets in the water signs. And so there could be an emotional movement here of something moving through you that you're resolving, you're being very honest about how you feel. And that is actually what needs to clear out. That is a part of this energy as well. So it is the decision-making, the choices, the communication, the Libra energies, but then there's also a strong water sign impression here where it's not just our mind, it's what we're feeling that also needs to be expressed.
Interesting. And you said too that Mercury and Mars also has an aspect in play here, just to, give everybody a heads up. Mercury communication. So, and Mars I'm not saying it is Aries, by the way. It can be battle. So just an awareness that maybe those conversations or those thoughts might have some of that
emotional charge
here
about something probably from the past, maybe an unconscious part of ourselves that it gets triggered. There could be emotionally charged communications that can hopefully lead it forward, and say, like, this is the problem or this is the issue. And then Libra energy can be at its best. It's like, okay, if this is the problem, let's solve it. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. But that Mars in Cancer can be repressed, and it can be very inconsistent, where you express it one day and then you hold back another. There's an internal processing that Mars in Cancer has. And because Mars in Cancer is squaring the Sun, Moon, and Mercury in Libra, you could feel like there's something going on in the background that isn't evident yet.
Okay.
Like, I know it's there, but I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, I feel it. I sense it. It's sort of like the person, maybe someone who's passive aggressive, or maybe someone who isn't fully aware that there's a deeper thing going on. It would be good to ask clarifying questions to allow people time to process, or, I'll get back to you when I want to talk about this more. There could be a need to say that, if you're feeling more here, like I'd love to hear it. Invitation into conversation would be great. As well as just letting people be if they're moving through something that they're not ready to talk about yet.
Well, and it's such a perfect sign for it to go through Libra, because I know they can have that passive aggressive aspect, but Libra is usually, that, like you were saying, that balance, that it's like it's better than like if it were to be going through Aries, or okay,
so Mars is in Cancer, but then the 3 planets in Libra will be objective and be like,
exactly.
That's it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to be pissed off.
We're balanced. We're seeing it from all sides.
Yeah. There's an inquisitive nature to Libra too, of like, oh, what's that about? Tell me about that. Where did that, is this something you felt a lot? And so there's going to be something that is important for us to interact with in other people that will show us the state of healthy relationships, or those that maybe are, phasing out and not so good for you going forward.
Wow.
So these have specific dates that we're working with, but it sounds like the energies are longer lasting than the point of the date. But the date may be the focus point of it.
The date of the eclipses is when the energy really comes in. And for eclipses, they can last for 6 months. Some of them last for a few years. There's like a rating system that astrologers use about the impact of an eclipse and the cycle, like how long it plays out for. It also varies depending on the person. So for you, Colleen, because these are working with you both personally, they're going to be stronger in your world for at least 6 months, perhaps up to a year, where the energy continues to play out and move through in your life, which is different than somebody who doesn't have anything in their chart at these degree points, meaning they don't have a planet or a point. They're going to feel it, and it's going to be an energy that they're working with. It's just not as personal.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I can feel the energy of it already. And if it's in there, like I say, we just did a whole month of decision making.
Right.
And, choice and mind management is a big one. And then that ability to go within and listen to yourself and be able to hear yourself.
Yes. Well, and how lovely that you've been perhaps unknowingly setting people up for what the eclipses are going to trigger. So everyone should go back and listen to those episodes, because it's going to help them with the responsibility of eclipse season and making sure that you're making the right choices that you want to make. And it's from a very true, pure place, not just the mind, because all of our minds go and are very, very active these days.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
For many of us, and all these unprecedented events of all the other astrological things going on in the world events. It's daily, and
it's daily.
I think we're finally starting to adjust to it a little bit more, but wow.
And it continues into 2025, 26, 20, like we're living life at this new accelerated rate, and it can be draining and exciting. It can be overwhelming and invigorating. It can be the full spectrum. And I think we're learning a lot of new energetic management with what we need. I think about the solar flares that have been incoming, and how there's times that they will feel really exciting to me, and I'll be super productive and really, alive and loving it. And then other times I'm so wiped out, I couldn't possibly get off of the couch. So we're living in extremes, I feel.
That's a beautiful point. And I'm seeing that for those of you that are listening, she has a photo of the Northern Lights behind her.
Yeah.
And it's like, speaking of solar flares, it's like you have that exhaustion, and then yet we got to see the Northern Lights here in Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were visible here, and so I got to go, and we went out a little outside the city to go took my daughter, and we saw the Northern Lights here, so it was pretty cool. And it's like that
Amazing.
contrast idea of the solar flares, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Was that back in May? Was that just a
Was
few
that in
months ago?
May? Yeah, when it was
I
visible
think.
throughout a lot of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. How incredible. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
it's really cool.
Yeah. So we're living in these extremes that are going to continue for a few years. So always go to your toolkit with your energy and, of course, your Reiki practices and anything that supports, what's best for us during these big cycles.
Yeah, well, and it's even good to know that if it's going to continue,
Yeah.
that just, one of our major mantras that we've been saying since 2020 is stay stable, be kind.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just like when I'm in the messy part that you were talking about, that's what I do is
Yeah.
go to that. Just stay stable and be kind.
Yes.
And then what tools do I have to do that? And what does that actually mean? Because
Right.
it doesn't always mean being nice, even if
Yeah.
I'm kind.
Yeah.
Speaking of communications,
Yeah,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
don't always feel that way.
Right.
So the more
Right.
can help me be that way because it is my preference.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we need those grounding mantras. What keeps us, in that balanced place as these energies will move us back and forth quite dramatically.
Well, we think of, we work with the energy of the tree of life
Uh-huh.
and thinking of those roots going all the way around to stabilize the
Yeah.
ground underneath and the branches reaching up. As you were talking about the Libra eclipse and the balance of it, that's what I kept picturing is, the branches reaching up, the roots on the ground, everything in balance, and right here, just stay in that center as much
That's
as possible.
gorgeous. That's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's really, and I feel like too, that pertains to the Pisces eclipse with the sun in Virgo, where we stabilize in these earth energies as we go higher, as we're allowed to trust that we can grow more and expand more, those leaves and branches can go into new places because of, the practical components that the Virgo energy provides.
Yeah, that stability. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
well, Molly, as always, it's just been fantastic, and
Thank
there's so
you.
much to listen for. That's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
I would say to think about, but really it's just so much to listen for. And yeah, I just always appreciate all of your wealth of knowledge every time you join us, but then all of the resources that you provide to everybody. We're just
Thank you.
so grateful because it really helps and it matters. And yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Helps-
you.
It
I
helps with the
appreciate
stay
that.
stable, be kind.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
does.
Like,
it does.
Robin,
It does.
listen to what Molly just had to say because it will help you stay stable and be kind.
Oh, I love that. I love that it
Yeah,
matches
well,
up so well like
so
that. And
fun.
I mean, I'm grateful for everything that you're doing and offering to people and supporting them and what they're experiencing, not only themselves, but with their clients. So it's like this really beautiful, mosaic of connections that we all provide each other. And I love speaking with you guys, with both of you. So thank you so much for having me back on your awesome podcast, and just enjoyed everything we could discuss and share together.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Molly.
And
Thank you.
just so everybody knows, Molly can be found at mollymccord.online. And then you can just Molly McCord Astrology. You can Google her Instagram, her YouTube, her podcast, all of those things. It's also, you can find that at her website, and definitely recommend that you go and follow her and subscribe to her newsletter. And then, of course, as always, and all of that will be in the descriptions too, just so you can go click on the link if that's easier. And then, as always, we can be found at ReikiLifestyle.com. So awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Molly.
All
We
right.
sure
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
both.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great eclipse season, everyone.
Thank you. And thank you to all our listeners too. And
Yeah.
just hopefully this is kind of just a really helpful heads up.
Yes.
That's how we see it, is heads up, and the Reiki energy helps us, move through it with more conscious thought.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye, everybody.